Welcome to the Lowdown, episode 124, presented by advrider.com. I'm Neil Graham. A motorcycle designer and a plastic surgeon walked into a bar in New Orleans. What happened next? A plan to set a world speed record in the Salt Flats at Bonneville. Ex-Confederate designer JT Nesbitt and LSU-based surgeon Praz Patcha fell into a fast friendship and decided to take a shot at speed record immortality. But nothing comes easy in the Salt, as Nesbitt knows. He's been there a bunch of times. For Patcha, who'd be doing the riding, this was his first go-round. Well, how'd they do? When the pair finally made it back to New Orleans after the attempt, Patcha admits he broke into tears. Of joy or sorrow? Give it a listen to find out. JT, I just want to start with you. And here's something, as someone who's never been to Bonneville, what's it like, just irrespective of motorcycling or speed records or anything like that, what's it like to just be there physically in that place? Because it looks like the most bizarre spot on earth.
Well, if road racing is like a William de Kooning painting, abstract expressionism, and it's all over the place and it's very frantic, Bonneville is the opposite of that. Bonneville is like a Mark Rothko. It's like color field painting, and it's very serene, and it's very introspective. It's just blue and white, the blue of the sky and the white of the salt. It's so minimalist that you can't help but to consider your own mortal coil because there's no distractions.
And Praz, your thoughts, having been there?
Yeah, if JT's the artist, which he is, the engineer's perspective in me, it's very much like being on an alien planet. It's very much the moon meets Mars. It's like a endless beach with no water. Only the sand is ghost white and crunchy, and it very much feels like the middle of a desert. And it feels like if you didn't have water and people around you, you would easily perish.
JT, most of us know your history pretty well as a motorcycle designer and as a character in the world of motorcycling. Praz, you're a surgeon by trade. How did you get mixed up with him?
It's a great story. I'm a plastic surgeon for LSU Health, and I got recruited to New Orleans about a year and a half ago. And I kind of fell into what I call this really wonderful, it's a car club. It's more of a social club, and it's well known in New Orleans. And I kind of joined it by accident, looking for a place to park a vintage car. And it introduced me it accelerated my introduction to all of the most interesting people in New Orleans, I say. and I met JT through that club, and he had been inviting me, and he's not known to be a nonchalant guy, but he was pretty nonchalant about motorcycles to me. And then one day he invited me to his studio here where we're sitting, and I'm just seeing like a Confederate Hellcat and a Wraith and motorcycles that I saw on the covers of magazines when I first started riding 20 something years ago. And I could not believe that I just fell into this person's place. And we were really fast friends after that. And he kind of mentioned famously, "Have you ever heard of Bonneville?" And I'm like, "Yeah, duh, I've heard of Bonneville." And we had a joke about the world's fastest Indian, but I'm actually Indian, so it's like a double entendre. And after a bunch of whiskey, we decided to try it, and that was about 7 months ago.
So like all crazy plans, it was hatched over friendship and alcohol. So I'm glad to hear that nothing has changed. I mean, Praz, is this something that you'd ever thought of going to Bonneville to participate, or was this just because I know JT, you have a long history with Bonneville?
Yeah, it's actually a 30-year journey for me.
Yeah. But Praz, was it anything you'd ever considered before?
No, I started riding in 2004, and I mainly, I'm from New York, and I kind of fell into sport bike culture. It's just what I grew up around and what I saw, and I got into track riding and that kind of thing. And I thought that's as far as I would take it. And actually, over the years, I kind of started riding less and less in the street, as you'd imagine a reconstructive surgeon would would do. And actually, I lived in Los Angeles the preceding 2 years and actually sold my last bike, and I was bikeless when I met JT. Bonneville was something I was well aware of. I like racing. I like all forms of racing. I love riding. And, I think like many people at the track at Bonneville, lots of people got into it because of a movie like The World's Fastest Indian and stories of Burt Munro.
Yeah.
And that's how it was on my radar. When JT mentioned it to me and I saw what he's capable of doing, I felt like, oh, now this would be one of life's great adventures. And who better to do it with than someone that's built some of the greatest machines ever.
Before we talk about the bike itself, um, I'd like to get a sense of what it's like to ride on this surface, because it's not like a runway. It's not like a paved surface that's fairly consistent, that's perfectly smooth. I mean, Praz, can you take us through what it's like to actually ride on the surface? What's it like? What was the experience of going out and doing your rookie run? What was that like?
I mean, it was about the most surreal experience I've ever had. Um, when I first pulled up to the salt flats with JT and our vehicle and the bike, I was quite intimidated. My heart was in my throat. Um, but what I want everyone to know is that just like any racing event that I've been to, track days or amateur racing, SECA events, whatever it be, I want anyone that's been thinking about racing to know that you're going to be welcomed with open arms, and people with much more experience are going to want to teach you how to do what they love. And that's immediately something that I felt. So I was honestly terrified
Yes.
to ride on the salt. And I have a story. We befriended someone that is a woman named Erin Sills, just eating lunch after we had passed tech inspection. She happened to not be racing this year, but and I didn't know who she was. I'm not a land speed racer. Everyone knows who this woman is, and she just kind of ate a burger with us, and then ended up joining our crew because she didn't have anything to do. JT said, "Do you want to be on our pit crew?" And instead of being insulted like I thought she might be, she was overjoyed to join our tiny crew, and she became our third person and my coach. And she talked to me through a lot of these worries about like, okay, this is what it's going to feel like. And at Bonneville at the SCTA event, you have to do a rookie run before they give you your preliminary license to actually go flat out on your bike. So it gives you a chance, and they're very comforting. You're at the starting line, you pull up to this red line before there's a blue line drawn down the salt. There are 2 starters and 2 lanes, and you're just filled with adrenaline, and you're about to go down the salt, and they're very comforting. They tell you to put down your visor. Are you ready? If you're not ready, they talk you through it. Take a deep breath. You're going to be okay. And they kind of just set you on your way. And I was prepared for it to feel like wet beach sand because that's what it's like to walk on it. But the salt is this very unique stuff. It feels one way with your hand. It sticks to your shoe in one way, but when you're riding on it, it doesn't feel like either. It feels like a different thing. And my rookie run, I was very nervous, but the bike handled great, largely in part due to the fact that JT spent probably 8 or 12 weeks perseverating over the suspension setup, as he would do. But I felt very stable. And the first run, I only did 72 miles an hour. They're very comforting and like, hey, you're not breaking any records right now. You can if you want, but just complete the run. And completing the run is not stalling, doing everything correctly. There's a way that you turn left or right depending on which of the 3 courses you're on. One way indicates that you are good, the bike is safe, and you're going to be able to go to the return road. The
Yes.
other way indicates distress, right? So if you are having, if you're fainting, if you don't feel well, if your bike is sputtering, if you broke something or lost parts, you turn the opposite direction, and that's how the rescue crews know to come and get you.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I thought that was a really brilliant way because when you're there, you realize the starting line to the finish line for the short course is 3 miles. It's out of sight, so nobody can see you. Your support team can't see you either. So this is the way they figured out. So a tower watching you knows that something's wrong to come and
Right.
get you, or something is fine, and your teammate can come in to grab the bike.
And I
start.
presume there's
And
no radio communication.
no,
Some cars, I believe, have radio communication because I saw that in videos. They're talking to their support crew to give them, oh, turn your traction control off. But I don't think most people have communication to their line. The support vehicle has a CB radio, which is mandatory. So the tower on each track can contact you. If I fell, for example, they could let him know that I fell or something like that.
So
JT, you're going to jump in?
So it sounds so simple. If you're good, turn left. If it's not good, turn right. But because you're so amped up and it's so much pressure, it's all you can do just to remember that.
Oh, I believe that. Yeah.
You forget everything. Like
Yeah.
everything goes out of your brain, especially for pit crew. It was all I could do just to remember to put the bike in gear. And when I did that, I forgot to pull the pin on the tach. I mean, it's pretty intense, and you'll be shocked at how stupid you are when you actually line up to go for a run.
So Praz, when you're out there, I want to get to the bike in a minute, but when you're out there, first of all, how do you know where to go? What are you aiming at?
Yeah.
And what about a reference for speed? I mean, is there a sense of speed at all?
Yeah, those are great questions. So I will tell you, I've always been taught to ride, and even as a young driver, my father taught me that you want to look 12, 20, 30 seconds ahead. As we all know, 12-second rule, 15 second, whatever you want to call it. I always, when I'm driving or riding, I'm looking far down to make sure that I'm not going to run into any danger. I kind of already had it in plan, but Erin Sills, my adoptive coach, definitely went over that with me. And she said, listen, especially when you're tucked in a superbike position, it's extremely difficult to see anything. So you kind of have to pick something on the horizon and just kind of keep it in one spot on your visor. And that's really how you do it. They paint a blue line down the center of the course, and you're supposed to stay either on the left or right side of it. They don't like you to ride on the blue line because it kind of erodes, and they don't want to repaint it.
I understand.
But even at speed, it's kind of difficult to see. It kind of blurs in with the white. So you do have a sense of speed because on either side of the track, there are markers. So every quarter mile is marked with a black flag, and every mile is marked with an orange number, 0, 1, 2, and 3. And those are your mile markers. And then for each course, you're timed on a different segment. So being a short course rider, rookie course for lower speed vehicles, I'm timed. You have 1 mile to get up to speed, and then mile 2 to 3, those markers is where you're timed. So you want to be flat out between 2 and 3 markers. And then after mile 3, you have your runway to slow down basically, and then choose one of the turnouts to exit the course, which are also marked in quarter mile increments. Being that most racing vehicles don't have speedometers, our bike certainly doesn't. The markers is how you gauge your speed because the salt is just a blur of white.
Now we're going to talk about the actual record that you achieved in a minute, but 250 BSA is not one of motorcycling's illustrious machines. So how did that get chosen, and how did it get turned into what is behind you? Take me through that, please.
You know, as I get older, I find myself getting smarter. And one of the smartest things I've done, I'll take credit for this one, is to find an ARMA road racing motorcycle that's already been prepped and a lot of hot rod stuff has already been done to it. And as you know, Neil, I'm sure you race an ARMA. There's a 200cc class where you get a 550cc allowance if you run a push rod motor. It's 200 GP.
Right.
So what I did is found a hot rod 250 to run in 200 GP ARMA and started with that. Rather than having to buy a bike and modify it, bought one 80% and then just modified it to run at Bonneville for this specific kind of race. Again, man, this is about choosing your battles. And as I get older and wiser, I find myself choosing the battles that I know I can win. That's the key thing about this form of racing is buying a rule book with all the records in the rule book and understanding what all those records are. In other words, I don't pick the bike to race. I pick the class to race.
Yeah. And so once you got the bike, you said it was about 80% of the way there. Was there anything specific you did to prepare it for the salt, or what were the specific things? I should say. I assume there
Oh yeah,
were.
all kinds of little things, right? So at Bonneville, having a lower frontal area, just making the bike small is real important. So that meant remounting the fairing. It already had this crazy chassis that some guy built that qualified it to run in special construction, right?
Right.
That's what the A in APS is, right? So this is A is the class, special construction, P partial S streamlining, 250.
Were you able to emulate in the dyno? Because the dyno is a very controlled situation, of course. Were you able to emulate situations that would benefit you in the salt, or once you got there, did you find that you were correctly or sufficiently prepared?
The altitude at Bonneville, what was our amalgamated, our estimated altitude was what?
So the actual altitude of the salt flats is 4,000 feet, which is already difficult. But then based on humidity and temperature, they tell you kind of like an effective altitude on your time slip. And the first day when we did 90 miles an hour was calculated at around 5,000 feet or so. So an extra 1,000 feet than what we had kind of anticipated. And, when you're running carbureted, machines, it kind of makes a huge difference.
Yes.
The last run we did, the record return run, was 7,200 feet. So even more,
Oh,
another
really?
2,000 feet of elevation based on their calculations. And I'm not sure how that's calculated. But, we definitely had less power on the return run. So it's another challenging part of Bonneville is you just have to guess the best you can. So we put a resistance measurement into the dyno from DynoJet. They told our friend that was helping us tune, a famous drag bike racer, and they told him the settings to put on the DynoJet.
Yeah, Mr. Brad Matei, a jewel of a man.
Yeah, we owe him a lot.
And so to get the record, you have to do two runs, and it is the time taken between the two. Is that correct?
Well, it's not just that. You have to do a run that exceeds the record. Then you take your bike to impound, where they basically lock it up overnight. And then you're allowed the next day to be first in line to take that backup pass.
Yeah, and then they averaged the two. That's correct.
So, Praz, take me through. You did your rookie run. Then what was which was reasonably slow, 72 miles an hour, you said.
Mhm.
Then what was your second run? Take me through the progression of the runs.
So the rookie run was 72. It went much better than expected because, as I said, I was very nervous to ride on the salt. One good thing that I failed to mention earlier that we did at the suggestion of both JT and Aaron was we brought pit bikes with us. So we brought our old Honda CM400 for me to ride around, and they told me to just ride around the salt. There's areas that you can ride. There's an access road on the salt. There's kind of like little off the beaten path areas. And I just rode the bike around for a good 30 minutes, just getting a feel for the crunch and the roll of the salt. I think that helped me a lot. When I did my rookie run, I felt really stable. The bike felt really planted. The faster the bike went, the more solid it felt, which is a testament to JT's design. Um, did we do a second run that day? The days get a little hazy for me.
Right.
I believe I did a second run the same day because it felt great. And the second run, it just felt so much better because it was less unknown. It was less scary. The starters were so friendly and accommodating. Like everyone really at the salt is just really nice. And getting all the butterflies out of my stomach. The second run, we went up to 78 miles an hour. And the second run, we felt like we had a little bit of a power issue. We couldn't rev past 7,000. So it was just kind of food for thought. Okay, so, we went back to the pit. That was enough for the day. It got quite hot. So we tried to do as much as we could in the early mornings and then quit and then work on the bike and make further plans. So that day we added a little bit more power jet on our carburetor to add a little bit more top end fuel to see if that would help. JT went over everything on the bike. We thought about changing sprocket to a different sprocket and ultimately abandoned that idea. And then he just went over everything to make sure it was ready for the next day. And then we just got the day 3 bright and early. Beautiful day, amazing weather, little gift from above with a slight tailwind that definitely helped us out on that day. Again, a wonderful starter that kind of gave me a fist bump and said, "Go after it."
Right.
And that's the day we hit 90.523, crushing the record.
The Lowdown Radio Show is presented by advwriter.com. Become a site supporter and receive our biannual magazine, advwriter.com. And that run where you went from the 70s in miles per hour up to 90, how did that feel? Did you just kind of know that it was a good one?
Yeah. So one of JT's good friends is a man named Keith Turk. And in the land speed racing world, he's an absolute icon. He is, he's like a Mario Andretti. He's a Ayrton Senna caliber kind of person. And not only did this man save us a spot next to his pit because JT is such a dear friend of his, the first day when I told him the speeds I was doing, I can't really make it nicer. He basically told me I'm riding like a bitch. And he told me to get on it. And he basically was like, "What did you come here for? You gotta figure out where that red line is." And that part and parcel, my next run the next day was that run. And a lot of it was just having the confidence to really see what the bike would do. And kind of following the advice that he and Aaron and JT kind of gave me along the way, and just kind of trusting it. And like I said, the faster this bike goes, the more planted it feels. So I did it. I just rolled each gear way past what we thought it would do, and it kept going. And I knew that I went faster than the previous day, but I think one thing that begs to be said: you're 3 miles from the start line when you're done on the short course. The cars that are going on the long course, the bikes that are hitting 250, they're 8 miles from the starting line. You have no earthly idea what you did. You pull off on the side, you turn off your motor, and it is the quietest and calmest moment of your life. You did what you did. You survived. It's quite a surreal experience to kind of be that alone in that moment.
Yes.
And then, JT is driving up the road and you start to see the blip of the car pulling up, and you have no idea what he's going to tell you. Like, they broadcast, each course start on the radio. So on that particular one, they didn't say my final speed. So you don't find out until he pulled the bike in the trailer. I plopped in the car. You drive 3 miles back to the starting line, and there's a timing booth. And the timing person hands you your slip based on your racing number. And that's when I found out that we went 90.523, and I think I screamed like a small child. It was the greatest moment of my life.
Really? It sounds very theatrical. You
Well,
shut off and there's no noise, and then somebody picks you up and you go to a booth. It sounds pretty wonderfully bizarre, doesn't it?
There's one moment when I told Praz that his backup run had secured the record. And I'll never forget that the image of that. There's a great photograph of that,
Right.
of him finding out that he is, in fact, the world's fastest Indian.
Praz, you have a pretty demanding day job as a plastic surgeon. And we think of those of us that end up under your care. We look to you to reassure us and to calm us in something that's often, incredibly stressful. One of those potentially life-changing incidents that we end up in your care. What was it like to have other people caring for you? JT and the staff, you talked about that. Did it give you any insight into your day-to-day job? Did it make you look at it differently in any way?
That's a fantastic question. I just felt incredibly fortunate the entire time. JT always referred to himself as my crew chief, and I'm the rider/team owner. And he was always like pretty good about those roles, kind of the whole 7 months that we've been working on this project. And, sometimes he would just, we would be down to a carburetor decision. And he'd be like, "Well, you're the team owner. What, decide." And it was interesting. But then when we got to the salt, JT completely shifted into a pure crew chief. And I've never felt so taken care of before. He made sure that he helped me put on my safety equipment. He did all of the checks on the vehicle to make sure I'd stay safe. Our adoptive coach, gave me all this advice. There's a video that I'm gonna try to send you, and we'll try to edit it down. But there's a whole first person view from my visor, from me putting on my gloves to finish suiting up, securing my helmet, and there's Aaron Sill's 50-time land speed record holder, 11 of which still stand at Bonneville, holding an umbrella over my head to shield me from the sun. I I've just never felt like such a valued member on a team. It's usually
Right.
me. It's usually me captaining that ship, and it's
Yes.
just it's something that I will really uh, hold in my heart. Like, it felt really amazing to have people around me like that.
JT, you've been in this game a long time, and you've been to Bonneville a bunch of times, and motorcycles are in your blood, I think it's fair to say. What does it feel to have a record at Bonneville that you can share with a good friend?
My my journey isn't gonna be over until I set a record at Bonneville with the engine that I built. This is this is a wonderful side street, and sometimes the little side streets on your life journey can be incredibly rewarding. But until you've built your own engine from scratch, I haven't quite done everything that I need to do.
And Praz, for you, what's this has obviously you were saying that how much this meant to you and how much this experience has changed you. What's next for you?
I I'm actually having a big sense of grief this week, which I did not expect. For 7 months, any minute I was not at work, I was with JT in this garage as much as I could, helping to rebuild this bike. And we did everything we set out to accomplish, exactly as we planned. And it was cloud nine all the way through, even the 2,000 miles back. And we had a horrible flat tire fiasco, and it was like or just the right amount of adversity to kind of just be like, okay, yeah, this was hard. Um, but then we were unloading the trailer, and I'm not ashamed to say that I started getting really tearful. And when the trailer was fully unloaded and we poured, a last bit of bourbon to just finally celebrate, I sobbed. Like, I cried, because I feel like this was one of the great things that I've done in my life, and I'm kind of really sad that it's over. And a friend of mine told me that writers and artists often feel feelings like that when they complete a project, even if they're really happy with it. You kind of miss the whole journey. Um, and like Jimmy Carr, the comedian, like said it nicely. Like, it's not the pursuit of happiness like we're taught; it's the happiness and the pursuit. I don't know what's next. I'm trying to figure out. We're batting around some ideas. Uh, we think this girl has 10 more miles an hour in her, and she runs too straight and too true to not take her back next year. So I think a few months off for now, enjoy a little bit of respite, and probably we'll get back in the garage working on her, if not something else.
The Lowdown Radio Show is presented by advwriter.com. Well, Praz, I want to wrap this up by asking you, what do your colleagues think about this? Because, of course, whenever you end, every time I've ended up in the hospital due to a motorcycle racing incident, I always want to tell the physician that there was a crash within the peloton. I don't want to admit that I was actually on a motorcycle. So,
Yeah.
that's a good tip, folks. By the way, say it was a bicycle accident. But what did your colleagues think of all this?
So first of all, EMS is always going to rat you out. So if an ambulance brought you, we don't listen to what you said. We listen to what the medics say, because, just as an aside, the mechanism and velocity of your injury are very important to us that have to put it back together. So that's just a brief aside. But
Yet another tip.
I'm very fortunate. The reason I'm very happy in this job, I've had a few before this. My favorite thing about working and living in New Orleans and working at LSU is the camaraderie that we have between the other surgeons and staff and our residents is really wonderful. We have a year or two ago, our burn department was named number 1 in the whole country. It's a very incredible unit run by 3 amazing burn surgeons. You would think they would be scolding me or giving me lectures about why are you doing this kind of dangerous behavior. They were over the moon that we were trying to bring a record back to New Orleans. That's
Right.
just kind of how people are here. And they trusted me to, I've never ridden with anything but head to toe protective gear. I'm very big on that. I research my gear. I try to buy good stuff. So, it was all GP class stuff. And a helmet from Shark, ECE certified, did all the things that you can do.
Yes.
And plus my speed's not, if I was going above 100 miles, if we were going for a record at like 125, I would probably wear, one of the new airbag type suits. I know that might be controversial, but that's what I would do. And I know that the riders that do go 200 plus, a lot of them wear the more advanced gear. And it's been working well for people and saving lives. Overall, my partners are so proud. My residents are so proud. They're bragging and showing pictures. The partner that I work with the most yesterday, just when I walked into the operating room, just introduced me as, ladies and gentlemen, the world's fastest Indian. So there's a lot of pride, and I can't say that I felt any, ire from other surgeons. I think everyone just was really supportive, and they supported me to leave a really difficult job for 10 days, and they covered me while I was gone, which I'm probably going to pay the price for in these next few weeks.
No doubt.
I really enjoyed, their support.
Well, gentlemen, congratulations. It's a huge achievement. And, I kudos to you for putting in the effort. And JT, I know you've been at this a long time, so I'm glad you finally got it. And I can't wait to hear what's next.
The best is yet to come.
As always, thank you for listening to the Lowdown Radio Show presented by advrider.com.